Divide 365 and 4/10 in the ratio 2 to 7. Number 2, diagram the first part of this sentence, late with the rising moon returned. Number 3, what constitutes the Executive President's Cabinet of the United States, and give the chief duties of at least 4 departments. These were not questions taken from a college entrance exam. These questions were actually for 8th grade students in 1899. And I'm not talking about prep school students here. I'm talking about your regular run-of-the-mill farm student even. And yet today, homeschool parents are constantly told and are constantly telling other homeschool parents, there's no such thing as being behind. This phrase sounds compassionate, but it's actually crazy. Once your child reaches late elementary or middle school, this one lie can become one of the most damaging parts of your child's education. Because here's the thing, behind does not mean that your child is failing. It actually means that your child is missing a skill that is going to block him or her from learning the next thing. But if you are under the illusion that there's no such thing as behind, you are not going to understand and then be able to fix this gap in your child's education. If you can't even name it, you're not going to be able to fix it. So if you want a homeschool that actually moves forward and accomplishes the enormous goal of giving your child a solid education at home, then you have to have a structure in place so that you understand fully what comes next. And this is exactly what I teach inside the Homeschool Schedule Blueprint, because if you do not have an order to your day and an order in which everything is going to happen, then things are only going to happen by chance, and that is exactly where these educational gaps are created. You can check out the Homeschool Schedule Blueprint. The link is in the description below, but for now, let's get started in this video. Okay, here is the full 1899 benchmark exam that was given to 8th grade students. So let's talk about the different questions that are on this exam. In math, you have multi-step ratio reasoning, no calculator math. In English, there is real grammatical structure that you are analyzing and interpreting. This is not about opinions. History, functional civic knowledge, not trivia. You know what happened in your country and why, and you also know the different areas of government inside and out. So here's the thing you have to remember. This was not about enrichment. This was actually the exam. It was like the graduation exam, because back in 1899, an 8th grade education was pretty much the end of the education, unless you were going on to higher education. And a lot of the kids, who worked on the farm and things like that, stayed around town. They did not go on to higher education. It wasn't necessary back then. But this exam was the exam that graduated them. Okay, so at 8th grade, around the age of 13 or 14, the students were able to pass this exam. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of college graduates would have difficulty in passing this exam, and most certainly high school graduates. The lie, there's no such thing as being behind. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this phrase, there's no such thing as being behind, because it is a popular phrase that I keep hearing over and over and over again in the homeschool world. I decided to film a complete video on this topic because inside my group coaching program, the Headmistress Circle, I actually went on a tirade yesterday about this and what it actually means and where it came from. Okay, this phrase I think originally was coined by the homeschool pioneer moms. Now, these moms, they knew what they were doing. They were strict. Their students were ahead in everything. Like, they really had a fantastic game plan going. They were no nonsense. Okay, this wasn't unschooling by any means. Like, they really had a strong curriculum and they worked it every single day, and their children flourished because of it educationally. Now, of course, there are a few exceptions. I'm not talking about those. Okay, I'm talking about the average homeschool mom pioneer. Now, she may have said There's no such thing as being behind. But what she actually meant was, my student is going to master this material before he moves into the next area. So if her student was having trouble with long division, she was not just going to push him in to the next part because that's what the schedule said. She was going to hang out there for a little bit and make sure that her student fully grasped the concept, because she knew that he needed to grasp the concept in order to go into pre-algebra and then algebra, etc., etc. So that is where this phrase began. But for some reason, a bunch of lazy, unschooling homeschool moms, and we really understand here, I'm not talking about unschooling parents who actually do care, which is the minority. I'm talking about the parent who says that we're unschooling, and really what that means is their child watches TV or plays video games all day, or is literally just wandering through the woods, okay? There's no requirements, no standards whatsoever. It's honestly just not schooling at all. Let's not call it unschooling. Let's call it not schooling. Okay, so this mother clung to this phrase, there's no such thing as behind, in order to excuse herself when her 14-year-old can't even add multiple digit numbers. Okay, so that's what we're actually talking about here. The phrase originally meant, don't panic if your 6-year-old is still struggling with reading. It didn't mean your 6-year-old has no business learning phonics in the first place. Wait until he's 8, 9, or 10, or heaven forbid, shows interest. That's not what it meant. But now that phrase is used to excuse any student, especially older students in middle school or high school, who have not mastered the fundamental skills that they should have learned in elementary school. No, I'm sorry, but those children actually are very much behind and are going to have difficulty catching up. So here's the big differences. There's pace versus standards. Okay, not all children are going to learn at the same pace. This is absolutely true. However, the standard does need to remain the same. Okay, a child must master phonics, and if the child has dyslexia, he does need to still learn phonics and master those phonics. It's just he's going to learn it a little bit differently, and it's going to be at a different pace. But that doesn't mean that because the child has dyslexia or has another type of learning disability, that we just make it so that the child doesn't need to learn how to read at all. That's not what that means. It means that we have to dig a little deeper, and our job is a little bit harder. Because here's the thing, if your child is missing core skills by the end of elementary school, by 5th, 6th grade, he is going to have huge difficulties in advanced math, or huge difficulties analyzing literature or writing a paper. These are all fundamental skills in elementary school that he does need to learn in order to progress. He's not going to be able to do the work if he doesn't have the foundation built. The thing that I think a lot of parents are not really understanding is that you're not able to grow into algebra or mature enough to do algebra well, or logic well, or writing well. It's based off of skills and knowledge that are learned and that are attained in elementary school. So if you are missing out on that really important instruction in those earlier years, you're not going to be able to do the work in middle school and in high school. And here's the real problem. The longer you wait, the harder remediation is. Okay, so if you wait to even start any type of formal instruction in reading until your child is 8 years old or 9 years old or even older, and that child ends up having trouble that needs help, that needs a tutor or some dyslexia help or anything like that, you're not going to actually realize that probably for at least 6 months to a year. If you had started reading instruction when your child was 4, 5, 6 years old, you would have figured out much sooner that your child needed help, and you could have gotten that help, and your child would have gotten that help so much earlier and gained that fluency so much earlier. Now you're a little bit stuck because it does take time. Teaching a child with dyslexia how to read does take time. There is no way around that. So it is better to find that out early than it is to wait and put it off, because the longer you wait, the harder remediation is. And that goes for math too. It is harder to learn how to do these skills. The brain, it gets less plastic as we age. Now, that doesn't mean it's hopeless, but it does mean that you are making this harder for your child than it actually needs to be. So let's go ahead and talk about some very clear benchmarks here. You don't have to use these benchmarks. These are just some very loose guidelines. I have a book that I'll recommend at the end of the video if you want to go deeper into what your child should be doing at each age and stage. But for now, let's just put something up there. So reading, if you're not fluent by 8 years old, it is intervention time. You might feel more comfortable intervening sooner than 8. I probably would at this point. Math. No multi-digit multiplication by 10, it is intervention time. And again, you might want to do it sooner than that, but this is the very latest in my thinking. For writing, if your 10-year-old can't write a coherent paragraph, then it's intervention time. Math trajectory, if there is no pre-algebra readiness by the early teens, then there are multiple bottlenecks ahead and your child is going to need some tutoring or at least some very focused work. As far as knowledge goes, major gaps in basic history, geography by middle school is going to have a long-term literacy risk. Okay, so those are just some blanket guidelines. If those ages feel too late to you, which some of them do to me, I just was trying to be generous here, then by all means, don't go by those. And I will suggest an excellent book at the end of the video if you want to go a little bit deeper. So here's the thing that you really need to understand and internalize. If your child is behind in any of these areas, it does not mean that he or she is not capable. All that this means is that your child is missing a key skill or key skills that are going to block a progression in the education. He has to get those skills first before moving on. Okay, so here's what you do if you have realized that your child does have some gaps that need to be filled. Number one, you need to assess honestly. Okay, that means if your child is not on grade level and you know what grade your child should be on. So you need to be checking for arithmetic fluency. Does your child know all of his math facts in 3 seconds or less? That is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Those are essential. Start there. Have your child write one paragraph. Make sure that your child knows how to indent, knows to capitalize sentences and end with punctuation. Is writing complete sentences, not fragments, that there is an opening sentence and a closing sentence and 3 well-formed sentences in the middle. If your child is not doing that, then that is where you need to focus some work. Is your child reading fluently and on grade level? These are really the foundational skills that your child needs to have to move forward well into middle school and high school. So if there is a gap here, you know where you need to focus. Okay, so here's what I want you to remember. I am not telling you that you should be holding your child to an 1899 standard of education, although wouldn't it be wonderful if we all got back there? I mean, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic for your family. It would be fantastic for your county. It would be fantastic for your country if that was the standard that homeschool children were reaching for. So I'm not going to discourage you from doing that, but I am telling you that if you are behind, don't feel like you have to get caught up to that standard exactly. We just want to make sure that we are doing our child, that we're doing well by our children, okay? We do not want to educationally neglect them, and I don't throw that word around lightly, but if you do have children that are years and years and years behind and you're not doing anything to catch them up, or you're not working towards that, then you do need to work harder on that. There absolutely is such a thing as being behind in homeschool, but the good news is with focused attention, we can get our children caught back up. No homeschool child should ever end up being in remedial English or math. We need to be doing a better job than that. But this requires structure. It also requires knowing what our children should be doing at each age and stage. And it also requires firm leadership from mom in the homeschool, because you are the one that is guiding your children through this educational journey. You have to be in charge of this. If you are starting to realize that you do need a clearer plan, you need a way to order your day so that all of this schoolwork actually gets done instead of just flying by the seat of your pants every single day, that is exactly why I created the Homeschool Schedule Blueprint. It is a short course that takes you through how to create your own schedule, and then you plug everything into the spreadsheet that I provide for you. You can be done with this in an afternoon and have a fantastic, solid starting point to go from there. Now, if you need a little bit more hand-holding, if you need accountability, if you need group coaching with me, if you need to be surrounded by other homeschool mothers who are reaching for that excellent standard, then I would invite you to check out the Headmistress Circle. That's my group coaching program, and we are accomplishing amazing things in that group. So both of the links are in the description below if you want to check out either of those. I will also link the books that I would recommend if you really just need a map for what your child should be doing at each age and stage. The books are by E.D. Hirsch. I've recommended several of his books before, like Why Knowledge Matters is an excellent book, but he has these books for basically every grade, I think kindergarten through 12th grade, and it's basically what your kindergartner should know. I would recommend getting the older versions on eBay. They're much cheaper, but I'll link the ones to Amazon. They are a really fantastic resource, and you know, if you follow those recommendations, you will be doing right by your students. So the links will be in the description below. I'll see you in the next video.